somewhat like exactly. They're not exactly what happened. None of us know exactly what all the details, you know, like how everything lined up particularly. But
Yep.
as far as this goes, it was more so the Minner fight. I think that rose a lot of speculation, of course. Now you're right. He did go on Ariel Helwani show and he was talking about how much money he makes MMA betting. So that kind of definitely raised some eyebrows and people were kind of intrigued by that. But at that time, I don't think there was anything wrong, meaning that even, across the board for several years now, and personally myself as well, I don't think there's anything wrong with a fighter betting on themselves. That just shows you that they have confidence. They want to go
Right.
out there and win the fight. Now, obviously, if you're betting maybe some props or totals, or if you're betting on your opponent, then that's a huge red flag. And that's obviously, not the way to go about it. And then you can speculate, obviously, fixing and all that stuff. But I don't think that was the case at all. Like up until the Minner fight, and then again, the way that fight played out and all the rumors and everything flying around, that's kind of what brought the stain, I think, to this whole thing and what really brought some heat on James Krause and crew. But again, I think it's kind of still at this point, I know it's hard to believe, it's kind of more hearsay. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know, from what I understand, he didn't place any bets against Darrick Minner or whatnot, right? So,
Right.
and it's under investigation. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with this thing, but for me, I look at it like it was more of a leak of information. There's so many people and so many fighters that cross-train these days. And if you're in a gym and you see something going on, or you see somebody wearing a knee brace, or you see, you know what I mean? You don't even have to be close to that fighter. You could, and you could kind of, talk to somebody else, say, hey, what's going on? Is he hurt? There's just so many different ways this can go. And then once that person leaves the gym or the camp or whatever, and then talks to somebody else, it just kind of, elevates to another level. It starts spreading like fire. And then, the rumors are floating around, and then sometimes they end up being true, right? A lot of times it's not, though. There's so much speculation out there and injury rumors. And then you see the fight play out like it was supposed to in most cases, meaning that, a favorite might be rumored to come in with an injury. He goes out there and wins anyway. You know what I mean? And it doesn't impact the fight at all. And people are trying to bet on the news per se that they're getting or whatnot. So I think this was just in general a case of information kind of getting leaked out. And then, the betting community picked up on it. The lines were getting moved. People were just automatically assuming, the worst or whatnot, and just firing away on these bets. And then the sportsbooks were reacting to that. So again, I think that's kind of the way it played out. But again, there's an investigation going on for sure. And they're going to dig a lot deeper than any of us will.
And is it like, obviously you're not doing what James is doing, but you're still in that betting world. Is it scary when you hear things like FBI is investigating, third-party investigations? Is like, because I don't know the illegal side to that, what the penalties could be. To me, to be honest, I don't give a shit. People are making bets, whatever. As long as it's no flat-out cheating, right? Like you said, he's betting on his own fighter, or a fighter betting on themselves. I don't see any problem with that, how it could be. But once you start hearing these things, like, could it get real serious in your opinion? Like jail time?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it can definitely get real serious. I hope it doesn't get to that point, because I hope there was nothing out of the ordinary or anything excessive that went on with this whole situation. Again, I think that the sports books get impacted with rumors. We see it all the time. We see it NBA. I mean, I work for a sports book, obviously, and we book more than just fighting. I'm in charge of the risk for the fighting end of things as well. But on a daily basis, I also help out in other areas such as NBA. There's injury news that fly off the charts every day with NBA, with certain players sitting out or whatnot, or and we see these sharp guys come in and betting that injury information on a daily basis, and the line will move a few points, and the total moves it. So in sports betting, I mean, obviously news and information is key, and that impacts the betting markets, period. So to me, this was kind of in line with that sort of thing. And then also, I mean, every week when we see fight lines moving, like on fight day, I mean, you'll see some lines going from -400 to -700 at close, and it happens on a weekly basis. So, I mean, I understand that there was an extreme amount of movement in this particular case with the Minner fight, right? But for us, it wasn't nothing crazy out of the ordinary, if that makes sense. So, again, the speculation and then everything, the way the fight played out, Minner going out there, throwing the kicks like he did, that was just the weird thing about it, right? Like, I mean, if he did have an injury to that knee or whatever, you would think that you would have a smarter game plan to go out there and maybe try to look to grapple right away, and not maybe, stand up and strike with a guy that could beat you on the feet anyway, even if you were 100%. Like, so that was the weird thing. And just the way it kind of all played out, just, I don't know. I think that's what brought more attention to this, you know what I mean? Just because he went out there and lost in the first minute or so of the fight, So, and just not a good look across the board. But that being said, I mean, it's just hard to say, okay, Minner knew what he was doing exactly. He threw the fight, or like I said, James Krause went out there and did something that he shouldn't have done. I don't know per se. Like you said, Krause is a friend of mine. And it's hard not to like the guy, because from what I know, he's a good person. I've talked to him many times. We've done shows together. He's never given me like a tip, inside information from any of his fighters. I mean, I can 100%, I can take a lie detector test tomorrow.
Yeah.
assure you that that's not the case. So that's why it was a little surprising for me, because I felt like we have a good enough information or relationship that if he's going to spread information to anybody, then I probably would have caught wind of it. You know what I mean? And I did
For
not.
sure.
So yeah, so that's kind of where we stand right now. But it is definitely like a stain on the sport and a black eye on the sport right now.